Welcome back to CIA Declassified. You've listened to the Adam and Eve story, the episode that is the first one that pertains to this subject matter, I trust. If you've not, you're going to want to pause this and go back and look up CIA Declassified Adam and Eve story. Then come back here. We'll wait. You now understand the full terror of the crustal displacement theory that the Earth is not a stable home but a ticking clock scheduled to reset civilization every 6 millennia. Today we open the file that proves the U.S. government agrees with that terrifying premise. The document is CIA RDP 96 007 88R 0019 003 60001 2. It is the CIA's official classified copy of a 1960s manuscript by Chan Thomas. Unlike the files on Atlantis or Stargate, this document is a comprehensive threat assessment. It is the instruction manual for the end of the world, and the CIA treated it as the blueprint for national survival. We will break down the file over the next little bit of time, focusing on 3 key questions. 1, why did the CIA, not NASA or the USGS, classify a book on geology? 2, what are the specific terrifying details of the crustal shift the CIA sought to hide? And 3, what does the final heavily redacted section reveal about the government's secret plan for survival? Chan Thomas was an obscure figure, and his book, The Adam and Eve Story, was not a scientific text. It was a synthesis of mythology, biblical text, and rudimentary geological theories popularized by figures like Charles Hapgood. The central concept is this: the Earth's magnetic poles remain fixed, but the thin outer crust is periodically and rapidly pulled across the fluid mantle beneath it. The mechanism, liquid mantle and imbalance. The file's initial notes focus on the mechanics. Thomas proposed that the weight of the ice caps, growing heavier at the poles over thousands of years, eventually creates a planetary imbalance. The rotational forces then cause the entire crust to slip, like an orange peel sliding over the fruit beneath it. The shift is not slow. The document states the movement takes place in a period ranging from 6 to 24 hours. Why the CIA? The foreknowledge imperative. This is the critical juncture. The CIA's interest was not academic, it was strategic. The file is classified under RDP 96, which typically denotes high priority scientific and technological intelligence reports, including those involving predictive capability. If the cataclysm is cyclical, then it is predictable. The ability to predict the annihilation of civilization is perhaps the single greatest asymmetrical advantage any nation could possess. They weren't just reading the book, they were using their most advanced analytical tools to verify the cycle. The 6,000-year clock. We find cross-references in the CIA's internal memos that link Thomas' cycle to their ongoing research into lost civilization. The 6,000 to 7,000 year period directly aligns with the destruction of the Atlantis machine we previously discussed, and the timing of various pre-flood myths. The CIA was building a timeline of apocalypse, and Thomas' book was the key. When the CIA released this document, they heavily redacted, blacked out 3 main phases of the event. The details they suppressed reveal the exact nature of their fear. They didn't want people to know what happens, but when and how quickly. Redaction 1, the onset and the tsunami. The most heavily redacted pages describe the initial hour of the shift. This is where the CIA blacked out the description of the first rumble, the sound of the crust separating from the mantle. Tectonic whip. The unredacted portions still describe the immediate aftermath. The poles are shifted to the new location, leading to instant freezing in the new polar regions and melting in the new equatorial regions. But the central horror is the water. The shift causes a global 200-mile-per-hour tidal wave, not a tsunami in the common sense, but the entire ocean sloshing over the planet. The redaction covers the precise height of this wave and the specific regions Thomas believed would be least affected. This information would guide global military positioning and resource preservation. Redaction number 2, the new geography and climate. The original book details exactly where the new North and South poles would land. In the declassified file, this is obscured. Why? Because the CIA was likely verifying this prediction against their own proprietary models, and confirming the location would allow external actors to predict the safest zones. Thomas theorized that the new North Pole would rapidly move over the Pacific Ocean, shifting the U.S. mainland far south. The unredacted text describes snow and ice suddenly appearing in what are currently temperate zones. The CIA redacted the transition period, the time it takes for the new climate to stabilize, which is vital for any long-term recovery planning. We now come to the most chilling part of the file. The final, almost entirely redacted chapters that deal not with the mechanics of the disaster, but with the immediate actions necessary for humanity to survive it. This moves the document from a scientific curiosity to a classified government-level action plan. The hiding place. Elevation is salvation. The unredacted text makes one fact unequivocally clear. Only elevation offers a chance of survival. The ocean surge covers all landmasses below a certain altitude. The CIA left in the general instruction, seek high ground immediately. But they blacked out the exact minimum elevation required. This is the difference between telling the public to run to the hills and knowing the specific elevation above which life can persist. The redaction suggests the existence of a highly organized, pre-selected network of elevated safe zones. Think of the deep underground military bases, but in the most geographically stable high-altitude locations that are shielded from the tectonic shear. The mere existence of this redacted section validates the conspiracy theory that the U.S. government has already selected its survival locations based on the cyclical event. The timing of silence, the 72-hour survival window. A single partial sentence survived the redaction in the final chapter, referring to the post-shift world as, quote, "And silence reigns for 3 days, no sun, only wind and water," end quote. This implies a 72-hour window where the world is essentially extinguished, covered in cloud cover, ash, and water vapor. The Chan-Thomas file describes the psychological necessity of surviving this window. For the CIA, this was a planning factor. How much oxygen, food, and communication capability is needed for the first 72 hours in a completely new post-apocalyptic world? The black ink hides the exact specifications for their pre-positioned survival caches. The conclusion of the files, a matter of fact. The overall tone of the CIA files' administrative notes is what makes it so terrifying. It treats the Chan-Thomas theory not as a possibility, but as a guaranteed recurring event. The CIA's interest was purely in the date of the next shift and how to weaponize the pre-knowledge of the extinction cycle. The Chan-Thomas files represent the ultimate level of suppressed knowledge. The CIA studied the end of the world, deemed it a recurring, predictable event, and classified the details necessary for the survival of the masses. The true horror isn't the crustal shift itself, but the fact that a select few have been planning for this catastrophe for half a century based on a book almost no one has ever heard of. We've covered Atlantis and the pole shift, which were both about secrets buried on Earth. Next time we go to another world entirely, analyzing a document so obscure almost no one in the online community has successfully decoded it. We delve into Project Sunstreak's remote viewing target of the Martian monolith. This is the file detailing a remote viewing session targeting a geometric structure on the surface of Mars, which resulted in a heavily redacted report mentioning a, quote, creator race, end quote, their relationship to ancient structures on Earth, and a completely new, chilling understanding of human prehistory. You won't find this document in the public search engine results. This is the definition of deep file obscurity. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into the Chan-Thomas files. If this episode gave you a new perspective on history, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share this information. History is classified, truth is declassified. Until next time, I'll see you in the archives.